Hello and welcome to this week's landscape photography vlog. In this episode I've taken the overnight pack, driven south for a few hours and then hiked a couple more to arrive at a beach where I like to go and shoot seascapes. It's a great spot. It's the most southern beach in Australia, and with that you really feel like you're perched on the edge of the world. Usually I shoot wide angles out here, however on this occasion it just felt more interesting to use the 100 to 400mm lens, which turned it into a completely different experience. I hope you enjoy this episode, and I'm glad to be sharing this landscape photography adventure with you. So started things off by shooting the Tele lens into the waves, just because that spoke to me. It just was where I kept looking back at, and it felt like the standout feature. So shooting at high shutter speeds to really freeze the motion and thereby convey the force of the waves coming through was where my attention kept drawing back to. So high shutter speeds, aperture just low enough to have the scene in focus where I wanted to be in focus. It settled in, but rather than sitting here for the rest of the evening, I decided to move on to another location. I had my new Sony 16-35 f4 lens in the pack, and obviously that meant I was pretty keen to shoot some wide angles with it. But looking around, it just became very obvious to me that it wasn't foreground elements or things that were close to me that actually spoke to me, but it was the crashing surf out at sea that kept drawing my attention. So I kept the 100 to 400mm lens on and started tracking birds in the surf and focusing on the shots that felt right in the moment.
I've found something for the wide angle. It's really nice timing too, because I would like to think that the light's just about as great as it's going to be. And what I'm looking at is this big rock down here before me. It's not really the rock itself that I'm so into here, although the texture is beautiful. But it's a matter of the last bits of light just catching in all of these little grooves here. Yeah, this shot obviously is a bit cropped since I'm videoing it. But if you think about this being just a tad wider, you know, sort of like this. I'm not sure they'd qualify as leading lines, but they're certainly catching, and they're quite beautiful, I think. What I don't love about the composition is all of this space here. There's not a lot of interest to it. However, I can't go any lower. I was trying to get to this area down here and find a nice foreground, but every once in a while a huge wave comes up to pretty much here, and this entire area behind me is a meter underwater, and I've done this here before and lost the camera, so I'm not doing this again. I'm not getting too close again. Here we go. This one's not pushing so far, but there is a few, and it's just going straight into whatever foreground could be, and I'm not risking that. But let's try and get some more shots just as the light's picking up even more. And yeah, if I like how this photo turns out, here it is.
Evening had definitely arrived, and despite some decent wind and a roaring southern ocean in front of me, there was a feeling of serenity in the air. I felt great being out there at what seems to be the end of the world, with birds going about their evening routine, the sun about to vanish, and me sitting as a spectator amongst it all. And I think it was that state of mind that I'd gotten into, that calm and just pleased happiness, that led me to capturing some of my favourite shots of this trip.
I'm hoping to get a couple of waves coming through for the last couple of shots before the sun's gone. And it's just casting these beautiful colours over the water surface. Oh, here we go. Look at that. So I think the aim of using this light would be to get as direct to the sun. Oh, here we go. Holy shit. Shoot as directly into the sun as possible. And just look at what the light ends up doing. Casting little golden ripples over the crowns. So the hope is for, you know, the waves haven't been as big now as they were 10-15 minutes ago, but I'm hoping something will still come through and I'll get a nice picture of a beautifully lit raw ocean scene. That's it. Ooh. Oh, I like that. Come on. One more.
And then, just as the light was about to disappear, everything aligned for me. The light was unbelievably warm and rich, and right at that last fleeting moment, a big set came pushing through again.
Oh, that's almost finished. Ooh. That is exactly what I wanted now. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but I was pretty chuffed with how that whole shoot had turned out at the end. Just seeing all of these factors come together how you hoped they would, and then seeing what that really means and how that turns into a scene in front of your eyes was a wonderful moment. So I packaged that feeling up along with my camera gear and went back to campsite, had some dinner, and then rolled up in the sleeping bag knowing that the alarm clock would start ringing in just a few short hours. After a cozy night rugged up in the tent, the alarm rang at 4 a.m. for a bit of sunrise shooting at one of my favourite seascape locations in Tasmania. I didn't vlog too much because, to be honest with you, a sleepy Ollie isn't super chatty. Plus, I spared you the look of my face pre-5 a.m. Don't know if you can see that red shine on the foreground here. I noticed it too late because, again, I was sleepy. But it's really lovely what very, very early light does to these black rocks. So here we go. I know again what to come back for and shoot next time. I did set up as close to the water as was safely possible. The surf was still pretty intense at times, with the occasional set washing in way further than one would expect. If this had been a sandy beach, I'd have happily stood in the water, but those boulders are pretty unforgiving when wet and submerged. So instead I got close, but every now and then I had to move back a bit. My aim was to capture the right moment of the water's flow with shutter speed of max a half second, which would give me really beautiful leading lines to draw the eye into the scene, but also hide any unwanted elements below the surf, thereby just simplifying the scene a fair bit, and then top all of that off with this beautiful golden early morning glow being caught in the spray and all that whitewash. This time I also decided against using a 2-second timer for my shots. Usually that's what I do to ensure that when I press the shutter and I have a long exposure, there's no shake introduced. But in this occasion I got really sick of constantly missing the moment I wanted to capture, so instead I just opted for pressing the shutter very gently and getting the shot directly there, and it worked out surprisingly well, so that's what I'm going to be doing moving forward. I got 2 shots I quite enjoy out of this morning, one right before the sun peaked over the horizon and one after. The composition is almost the same, it's just the additional light that adds variety. And yeah, here they are. I believe the most important takeaway from this trip is to not put too much emphasis on your preconceived ideas about the sort of photographs you'll be taking. Instead, let the location speak to you. See what's drawing your attention and what you connect with the most, because those will be the photographs you'll look back on and remember what it felt like in the moment when you were out there in the field. And to me at least, that's the main thing I aim to capture with a camera, a tangible memory of a great moment. So thank you very much for tuning in again this week, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.